I got such an insane response from my very first storytelling, I was about to say movie, from my first storytelling video. I thought you guys would like it, but I didn't think you'd like it that much. So this is going to be another scary story. I don't know how often I'm gonna do these. I'm assuming it'll be pretty often because I really like them and you guys really seem to like them. So I don't know right now, but this is another video. If you guys haven't seen the first one that I did, I'll link it down below. What I'm doing is I'm reading a scary story that my sister and I both found on No Sleep, which is a subreddit. And I've actually had a couple of you send me different stories that I've read, and I love you guys so much for sending them to me. If you guys have any stories that you want me to read, go ahead and DM them to me and I will look at them and I will most likely make a video on them because, oh my god, I can't stop reading these stories. This is one that my sister actually sent to me, and it is called "I'm Deaf and Didn't Realize There Were Strange Sounds Coming From My House." I've been steadily losing most of my hearing from a very young age. I learned to talk and can still interact with people if I'm wearing hearing aids, but if I leave them out, I'm totally deaf. I cannot hear a thing. Nothing. I used to have a roommate who had practiced playing the tuba while I slept only 10 feet away. This does suck sometimes because I can't properly enjoy music, and it's hard to hold down a job when your customers keep getting frustrated at your poor communication skills, but usually I don't mind. I've always been the type who enjoys peace and quiet, so when I'm alone, I can take my hearing aids out and relax in total silence. As you may have gathered from the title, the problem with this is that it's impossible for me to tell if that silence is empty or not. I first started suspecting that something may be wrong the first time I had a woman over at my house. It was a nice, medium-sized dwelling in a small town that I inherited from my grandpa. I was in the bedroom and things were getting kind of hot between me and the young woman when she suddenly stopped and motioned for me to put my hearing aids in, which I did. She was scared when she spoke. "I heard something downstairs. Can you go check?" Truth be told, I was more than happy to stay in there, behind a locked door. I may be deaf, but I'm not dumb. I've seen plenty of horror movies, and we all know what happens to the one who goes off on their own to investigate a strange noise. Unfortunately for my well-being, my secondary brain was in charge then, and knew I wasn't going to get any if I didn't go check things out. I crept downstairs silently. Well, I think it was silent anyways. There was no one in the living room or the kitchen, and none of the doors or windows were open. Before I could finish checking, my date flew downstairs and ran out the front door before I could even register what had happened. She never again returned my texts, and I haven't seen her since. A smarter man would have noped the fuck out of there once that happened, but I rationalized, and after a few weeks, I had all but forgotten about the incident. The next big red flag came out one day when I was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic on my computer in the living room, when 2 police officers suddenly kicked in my door and pointed their gun at me. I didn't have my hearing aids in, so I sort of froze there until one of them cuffed me and the other went upstairs. When he came back, they spoke to each other briefly and started asking me questions I couldn't understand. It took a while, but I finally convinced them to uncuff me so I could put my hearing aids back in. What they told me after chills me to this day. Apparently, my neighbors heard screaming coming from the house and called 911. When those 2 officers arrived, they heard the screaming themselves and kicked in my door. The one who searched the house found no sign of anyone else being there. Since they had nothing on me, they eventually did just leave, with a warning to keep my video game turned down. It was on mute. That was when I finally started getting scared. I decided to leave my hearing aids in from now on. 3 days later, while I was making myself a nutritious dinner of ramen noodles, it finally happened. I heard footsteps upstairs. It sounded like someone was running back and forth between rooms. Even then, I tried to rationalize it away. I told myself it was probably the house making noises. I was always reading books that houses made noise, so that was probably normal house sounds that I had never noticed before. Then the toilet flushed, and I heard more running. I got a kitchen knife, went upstairs as quietly as possible. Yes, my dumbass probably should have called the police, but what if they didn't find anything like last time? I checked the bathroom first, and it was empty. Then the guest bathroom, which was also empty, but something caught my eye. There's a large dresser with a mirror on top of it in the guest room. It reaches almost to the ceiling. I never paid much attention to it before, but something about it seemed off. When I drew closer, it became clear what was wrong. The dresser was sitting at a slight angle. I never noticed it before, but there were wheels underneath, and it made almost no noise when I pulled it away from the wall to reveal a large hole that opened up a room I never knew existed. Inside the room was a pile of old, ratty blankets with a noticeable dent in the middle of them, like a nest. Candy bar wrappers, empty potato chip bags, and open cans were strewn across the floor around the pile of blankets. There was a rusty, old filleting knife in the corner, like the kind my grandpa used to use. As you can imagine, I decided that the best course of action then was to leave as quickly as possible. I left the guest room and headed towards my bedroom, but I stopped in the hallway before I could get in. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see a shadow moving in there. I walked slowly to the stairs, but when I took the first step, I somehow managed to place my foot directly on the loudest creaky spot on the whole staircase. The noise was loud, even to me, and as soon as it was over, new sounds followed. Horrible, piercing, screaming, and footsteps rushing towards me from behind. I leaped down the stairs in 2 bounds and was out the front door in seconds. Luckily, the town was small enough that I was able to run all the way to the police station in only a matter of minutes. They never did find whoever was living in my guest room. I've all but given up hope on finding a buyer for the place, because sure as shit, I'm not living there anymore. I guess the moral of the story is, wear your hearing aids. That's insane. It reminds me a lot of the movie where it was like the blind guy who was in the military and the people broke into his house to get money, and I don't know, what was the movie called? I know. Don't Breathe. That's what it reminds me of, the Don't Breathe movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good movie. It's kind of strange, like the ending is really weird, but it's a pretty good movie. It reminds me a lot of this story, but like in movie form. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, like I said, I'm going to be doing this a lot more often, so if you have any stories you want me to read, go ahead and DM them to me. I have all of my social media links down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! I've always been the type to enjoy... I don't know how to speak English. There was no one living in the living room. Kayla just texted me while I was reading that, so I was trying not to laugh. And she goes, I hate myself. I feel like I'm still reading a scary story. I hate myself. I wish you could have seen what I just did. I'm listening to music, and when the beat dropped, I looked up and dabbed back and forth to the beat for like 10 seconds. Oh my fucking god. When you get to the point where you're whipping and dabbing when there's nobody else around, you know you have a problem. Bye.